Hey, Mark.
Hi, Chad.
You know who we have here today?
Krista Allen.
Hi, Krista.
Wow, hi.
Wait, did you bring her? Did she
I
just
don't know. I thought you
appear?
brought her.
No.
I have been sitting here the whole time.
I'm
Thanks
sorry.
for noticing. Wow.
Creeper.
It's okay, I'm fine.
Is that the name of your podcast?
Yes, it is. I'm fine. It's called I'm Fine with Krista Allen. I bring in my friends and celebrity guests, and I pick one self-help book a week. I kind of try to tailor it to my guests. But sometimes if I'm having a really rough week, I tailor it to myself, God damn it.
That sounds great. How do we listen to it?
Anywhere that you would get your podcast, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or I'mFineWithKristaAllen.com.
With a friend of Brian Finifter's at a party at the Coenga house. This was an actual Austrian girl, so that's when I went Austrian. Yeah, put another shrimp on the baby, and she was like, "What? That's not Austrian." Yeah, I know. That's the joke. Fucking Austrian.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you caught the tail end of Mark's little tale there. What are you looking for, buddy?
Yeah, recording.
Matt's got to pee.
I gotta
Mark
find
is
my
leaving the
pen.
room, and this whole podcast is already in disarray.
What did you do with my pen, Chad?
I stuck it so far up your ass you forgot it existed. Isn't it not right there?
No, that's Matt's.
Oh my god.
I need my pen, Chad. I gotta have that pen.
Here's your goddamn
You
pen.
literally pulled it out of your ass.
I mean, sometimes man's got to do what he's got to do.
Ugh.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing okay. It's hot today.
Yeah.
In this
Dude,
room,
yesterday
especially.
was roasting. I stopped by set yesterday, and it was like the base camp was outside in the sun, and the actors were inside in a small little restaurant that no one else could fit into.
Yeah, of course.
And we wrapped. It was our last day.
Very nice.
Had our martini shot at like 9 p.m.
We are not quite wrapped on my show. They keep on...
When did they start
more-
filming your show?
I don't know. No. Mid-February, I think.
How is it? Is it 10 episodes? 13
10 episodes. And they're
Hour long?
starting the 10th episode shoot on Monday.
Hour long?
No, they started yesterday, yeah.
I've seen. I
long.
mean, it's funny if they haven't put any promotionals up for the show I'm on.
I'm starting
Even
to
though
see
we're
Strange
done
Angel
shooting,
billboards and
I was gonna
bus
say,
signs and all kinds
Strange
of stuff.
Angel's already got trailers that you've been posting and like posters all over town.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious.
Well,
I like the cast.
I am not familiar with the marketing people.
Right.
I don't talk
Never
to the
are.
CBS All Access people at all.
Well, they're always operating on their own. They never.
Yeah. Well, I guess my thoughts are that CBS All Access got a lot of people to sign up for Star Trek or The Good Fight. Those are their two big shows.
Now they're like,
And
they
they-
keep them.
Right, yeah. Now it's a matter of like keeping that stream going, keeping people satisfied
Sure.
with new stuff, and exclusive stuff.
Right. It seems like a good show to do that. It seems like the kind that's gonna have a good like Comic-Con following. You know,
It's
kinda
possible.
fan base.
Yeah, it could have that kind of
You don't-
culty following.
You're laughing like you don't think it will, but
Well, I know what's in the show, and
well, don't spoil it. Then.
It's not your father's show about sex magic, that's for sure.
Hey Matt,
Welcome back.
why are you looking at your pay stubs? Didn't you just come from the bathroom? That's kind of awkward.
Did I leave my paychecks in there?
I was gonna say, are those marks?
I want to make sure these weren't from 2017. It's like, oh, did I forget to report something? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't put it on the podcast that you forgot.
Matt, come get a little closer. You're a little
Okay.
far away from the
I'm
microphone.
gonna chew my Doritos really loud.
I just hit the mic with my head. Sorry about that, guys.
Great. So in the 90s,
I remember
I
the
worked
90s.
at a comic book
Yeah.
store, and I'm pretty sure you guys both probably had a period of the exact same experience in your lives where you're
You know where this is
obsessed
going.
where you're obsessed with Japanimation
Yup.
Oh yeah.
and
Yes.
manga and all things like,
Not manga. What's manga?
well, it's like the American name for comic books,
Oh, okay.
Japanese comic books.
All right.
Yep. I took Japanese for a semester.
Did you? Yeah. Pound it.
Yeah.
I minored in Japanese.
Yeah.
Watashi no.
As long as you didn't get involved with Japanese minors.
What did I always used to say, Matt? Watashi no chinchin ga totemo okii desu.
Sure. I don't remember.
Anyway. So you can kind of see where
Wait, what the fuck does that mean? You can just move on.
No, we're moving on. You can kind of see where this episode's going.
We're gonna watch
Matt
some.
knows what we're gonna watch this week, but you don't necessarily.
Are you gonna make me watch La Blue Girl or something?
No, we're not gonna watch Japanese porn.
Okay, well, just making sure. You're kind of heading down this road.
Did you explain your experience with Japanimation?
Japan with anime.
Anime.
Actually no. It's Japanimation is fair because the first time I ever really started to watch it, it was on at like 2 a.m. on some local channel, and they called it like the Japanimation block on that channel, and they played all kinds of weird stuff like Fist of the North Star, Wicked City, and other things that I can't remember.
Right.
But it was very
back
violent.
back when you could actually remember all of them that had been imported, exported
Because
to
it
America,
wasn't
because
everywhere. Yeah.
now it's just like there's so much that I just lost interest.
There's even American anime.
yeah,
Like
right,
Castlevania
the
and
style
Netflix.
of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, kind of similar. Caught some random anime movies on the Sci-Fi Channel, like 1 in the morning. One of them, which is still like one of my favorite movies of all time, and just came out on Blu-ray.
What's that?
That's Fatal Fury, the motion picture. The movie's awesome. You guys should check it out.
Oh, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And how similar the plot is to Hellboy 2.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exact same plot. Yeah, I always said I was like into anime, but I was never as much as I said I was. Like I watch a lot of the stuff that everybody watches, like Dragon Ball Z and Cowboy Bebop and
Akira,
yeah, and Ghost in the Shell. I haven't really gotten too much into the deep cuts.
Actually, the thing I remember watching a lot of, Ranma 1/2. That was hilarious.
Which
That was
I
a
loved.
funny show.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I never even watched that.
It's strangely weird.
Yeah, everybody's turning into animals and switching genders and stuff.
Forget.
It's up your alley.
I totally forget like what the plot of that was. It was like awkwardly weird though.
I mean, it was like a sitcom sort of.
But I don't want to say that all Japanese things are perverse, but all anime felt a little perverse and a little weird.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what attracted me to it like early on. Like
Well, the style and the content was literally foreign to us at the time. We'd never seen anything
we
like
went
it.
from watching basically things like Batteries Not Included to discovering Mortal Kombat in the local arcade and having it like blow our fucking minds, like, oh my god, what is this? And then like that kind of was like a gateway drug into like Neon Genesis Evangelion and like these crazy bizarre other worlds that were very like dark and the shit you didn't get out of Aladdin, that it felt like
very
like, this is
adult very
special,
quickly.
this is weird. But yeah, you kind of grew past it after a while. I would say the window lasted for me like 5 years, and maybe 4 or 5 years, and then I was kind of over it.
My friend Keith in Illinois he got way more into it than I ever did. I think he's still into it. What was that one about the pop star?
Macross?
No. It's like a murder mystery.
Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue. Yeah, he showed me that one. That's kind of like a masterpiece. Yeah,
it's kind of.
Isn't that the one that Aronofsky bought the rights to?
Maybe.
Probably. It sounds about right.
He bought the rights to so we could copy some of the shots for.
I wanted to do that someday.
Requiem for a Dream.
It's kind of a fucked up movie.
Yeah, some of the shots are exactly the same.
Extremely perverse for one, but it was shit like that was like just kind of like whoa, but like this, what we're gonna watch today was, I've never seen this movie. I don't think any of us have. maybe you have, Mark, because you've
Yeah, the last time
seen everything.
The last time you tried to surprise me with one, I saw that one, The Void.
But it was this is not an animated film.
Oh, then what the
This
fuck?
is live action. But it's based on a manga comic book that I used to read, and back when I used to want to be a comic book artist, I would always buy up these books, the graphic novels of this series, and I would emulate the style of art because I loved it so much, and I thought the artist who had drawn it was like a master at what he was doing. And I always bought the Japanese books.
I've already seen
So I
the
never
Netflix
read-
Death Note movie.
I never read the damn thing. I think I read one Dark Horse Comics release of it, but I never really understood the story other than
Dark Horse
what
released
happens.
it.
But
Now I'm playing like trivia here. What could this
In your
be?
but anyway, so
Did you even read
I'm
it
excited.
like right to left like you're supposed to?
I tried to, yeah.
Okay.
Just because I tried to I had just started studying Japanese, but I didn't know like the kanji, the more complex characters, so I couldn't really read it. But some things I picked up on, and some things were pretty straightforward. Just flipping through the pages, you could tell, like anything really. But I was super stoked to hear that. Did I just say super stoked?
Super stoked.
Super
I was
Soaker
super
2000.
I'm gonna start saying that.
I was super stoked to hear. I guess that actually kind of fits. To hear that they made this into a movie, even though it felt like it was 10 years past the fact for me. But I'm excited to see this particular movie called Blade of the Immortal. I
haven't seen it.
A blank look on your face.
Well, they
This
remember the
director is famous in Japan, right?
is this
Takashi Miike?
Miike?
It's his 100th movie.
He did. Wow.
Can you imagine directing 100 movies?
I saw the trailer for this. Yeah, Takashi Miike.
Yeah. So I have no idea what to expect. Besides, the comic book was extremely gory.
Oh, so is the movie.
And it's because it's from what I remember. I don't think this is spoiling anything, but it's about a guy who can't die,
Yeah, and he has a blade.
regardless of what happens to himself.
Right.
So,
Cool.
Like this is the same person who made Itchy the Killer.
which I think I've seen. Did he make Audition, or is that
Yeah,
somebody else?
yeah, that's him.
Same guy.
Mhm.
Is it?
I
believe
God,
so.
I still have
Those are
nightmares
Korean.
about Audition.
Kitty.
Well, when she cut somebody's leg off with
Yeah.
the wire saw. Anyway.
Well, I'm excited. I haven't seen anything by this director, but I've been meaning to, and I wanted to catch this in the theater, and I missed it, so
It was
I'm
like
excited.
it was like sneeze and you missed it. Yeah.
Well, now you can see it on my beautiful
go.
42-inch
There we go.
screen.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
ありゃ人間じゃねえ化け物だ奴は不死の剣士だ
一刀流は父上を殺し
我らの軍門に加わるか滅びるか
父上の敵討ちを手伝ってください
名実ともに一刀流は江戸の頂点を極める
敵討ちてんだったらこいつらより強くなったら今日みたいなこと次やったら用心棒降りるからな誰切ったらいいか俺はどうやって決める
私のことを切ろうとする人
ゲスタ様の邪魔になる存在であるあなたを排除しに来ます
インドを渡すにはちょうどいい剣の腕が鈍ってしょうがねえ
don't think enough people died in that movie.
Oh my god. It was like John Wick with swords, but with not as impressive choreography.
I guess that's why he has time to make 100 movies, because they're at least the. I expected something more along the lines of Kill Bill level gore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's plenty
of
of blood.
Not that that's necessarily a benefit, but it certainly adds to the humor factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Plenty of severed limbs and bloody splatters on the walls and stuff.
I mean,
honestly,
the guy falling down the waterfall and exploding when
he hits the rocks. Yeah,
the rock was totally unexpected and amazing at the same time.
Explosive human.
Who wants to take the plot?
Oh boy, Chad, you brought this fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny because there was a lot that resembled the comic books, and a lot of the ways the characters died. And
the way it all unfolds feels very like, okay, here's one chapter, here's another one.
Yeah.
Felt like issues of the story, I guess.
So, main character, Manji.
Yeah.
He basically feels guilt for killing the wrong person or whatever. Has a girl traveling along with him. The guy he killed is her brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought it was her husband.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he basically, she's not his actual sister, is she? But she calls him
I don't
Big
think
Brother.
so. I think she went mad with grief, he said.
Right.
Started calling him Big Brother, yeah.
But then the opening scene, she gets killed anyway by this massive group of bandits, so to speak, and bounty hunters. And then he's cursed by this old lady who basically plants these worms in him, and he more or less is immortal from that point on.
Right.
And
it's not a curse. He's got worms living inside him to heal everything that gets hurt somehow.
Right.
That made me laugh when I heard it was bloodworms, because that is a fish food. They have little dried bloodworms that you can feed your fish.
Fish don't live forever.
No, not my fish.
They
die in months. Yeah, continue.
But anyway, so then it kind of jumps over to this other young girl's story, and we see that her mother and father are killed. The mother is presumably raped and beheaded, and her head is lugged around by one of these bandits. And these bandits are a part of this new group that a super group, so to speak, that wants to go out and basically take out all the dojos, wipe out the old school of the samurai, and basically do it because they were told long ago that they couldn't use certain weapons, and they had to do something a certain way, and they just wanted to do it by
this
any
is
means
their way
necessary.
of saying, I do what I want.
Yeah. Which I noticed this theme, and it seems like in a lot of Japanese films is the struggle of old versus new.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like battle royale, like all the new kids who don't listen to their elders are put on an island to kill each other, like by the elders, themes that typically come up in Japanese culture, which I'm kind of curious why exactly.
There's like a constant generation war happening.
Even Seven Samurai, weren't they like the last samurai? I can't remember. It's been so long.
The Last Samurai.
Right. The
Same thing
samurai,
there.
Same thing. Yeah.
I don't know if they in Seven Samurai if they were like the last ones, but they were part of a dwindling group because they were being replaced by soldiers with guns.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we kind of see a hint of in this.
Mm-hmm. And
guns show up at the end.
Right. But they didn't even feel like a big deal, really.
Yeah.
Which sort of is my feeling on the entire movie. But we're not even done with the plot yet. This girl's parents are killed, and she goes and finds this now immortal warrior.
Right.
Because the same old lady, right, sends her to find him.
Yeah.
She wants to get revenge on this guy who is the leader of the group. And the whole movie is them tracking him down and eventually going after him.
Yeah. And basically, Manji adopts her more or less as his little sister, or a little figure to replace the girl that he got killed.
Yeah, so he's replaying his trauma.
Right, but he can't be killed, and he certainly loses many limbs in this movie, and they're all reattached at some point.
Because magic worms.
Yeah. It definitely suffers from the same thing that most Japan anime suffers from, which is like intense battle sequences and then stop dead silence. Just lots of staring at each other back and forth.
I was falling asleep a few times there, and
me too.
I must have not fallen asleep that long when I did, because I thought this movie was 4 hours long.
It was 2 hours and
2 hours
20.
and 20 minutes.
It felt like it, yeah.
It just went out. I think it had this sort of video game quality to it. We start the movie with a gigantic battle. One guy versus this entire gang of bounty hunters.
And it just kind of goes on and on.
And it goes on, and I never feel... Like, even when he gets his hand cut off in the first scene of the movie, I'm going like, all right. I mean, obviously, he's still kicking everybody's ass. It never felt like it ever built to anything. It never went anywhere. But the fights... The problem I have with a lot of, like, kung fu movies and Japanese movies like this, where they have these epic, huge battles, where it's one or a few people versus 100... They're trying to make it like this really fun action sequence, but I keep thinking, like, why all these people behind him? Why don't they just rush him? They have him surrounded 360 degrees. This would be over in 5 seconds.
I just chalked it up to people still, they want their moment one-on-one.
I guess, like, maybe when they see their
talked about
compatriots being cut down, maybe they're a little afraid to run in there.
Fight, one-on-one.
Yeah.
That stuff never really bothers me, unless it's like blatantly obvious, like you can see.
I saw everybody holding back in this movie.
It didn't bother me as much.
That stuff never bothers me.
So you're saying the movie didn't affect you at all? Like you didn't care where it was going? Because I definitely... I enjoyed it. I felt exactly the same way you're feeling in terms of the battles. Like, okay, we don't need to go on this long.
Yeah.
Like, he literally kills, like, 200 people in the last scene.
And it's not even the length of it. I can remember this movie, I think it was called 13 Assassins.
Same director.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was him. Or like Magnificent Seven, even the remake of Magnificent Seven. Okay, it says right on the cover. They can have these huge battles where it's an outnumbered group or whatever, but there is some cleverness generally written into these movies where you go, oh, that's how they're going to win the day. In this movie, our main character is immortal. It's in the title. He's never in any danger. Well, he is, but I'll talk about that in a minute.
He doesn't feel immortal. Like...
He still feels pain.
It seems to me like he could be killed. Like someone could literally cut his head off and walk away with it.
Or like cut his brain in half.
He'd still be alive, maybe, but...
Yeah, there is a way that he could die, but I don't know. They never really raise those stakes. Except for, like, sticking with the video game theme, he has to face off against several bosses along the way. And one of the first ones he meets is another immortal guy who was cursed by the same old lady. That feels like the only time in the movie he's actually vulnerable. When this guy has poison that'll kill the bloodworms, and he's really in danger. I think they should have completely flipped the order of the people he runs into in this movie.
You should have killed the biggest bad guy first and then gone through...
I would have actually been fine with that. If there's like a theme of the movie... Like, violence begets violence. If you get revenge on me, my kids will get revenge on you, yada, yada, yada. If they killed the big bad guy first thing, now it's all his henchmen who have to go and get revenge. And that would kind of fit, I think. It could be done. I don't know. I'm not going to rewrite the movie. But basically, the most threatening one is the second guy he meets in the movie. And then there's another hour and a half after that.
Right.
And it's just kind of like there's not your typical 3-act build to a climax and then we're done. The movie begins and it ends with one of those gigantic battles. But again, those really didn't affect me in any way. Guys?
Yeah, part of my problem with the trying to feel like there is progression is that, they started killing the members of the evil group. But they weren't literally traveling somewhere. They felt like they would kill someone, and then he was like back at his house again. It's like,
right.
They're
Is
just,
this all
like
happening
around
within
this
like
one town?
A 5-mile
So
radius.
that was kind of weird.
That was one of my problems with it too.
He's supposed to be taking out dojos all over the country, right?
Yeah, in the province, I think. Yeah,
or whatever.
of
Yeah,
Edo or whatever.
Well, when we see at the end too, there's also instances of him hanging out with Rin. What's her name? The girl.
Yeah.
Like just back at his little house.
Yeah.
Like
it's like they go back to recuperate.
It's like we're seeing that. Oh, they've actually spent just random time together, just hanging out.
Yeah.
But we didn't see it in the progression.
Yeah,
of the
there was no
story
actual training, right? Even though he said he was training her.
Right.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I did like that they kind of introduced like, okay, he's kind of poisoned now, so the worms aren't healing as fast. Like, okay, that's kind of raising the stakes a little bit. But then the movie just kept going on. It didn't really the stakes didn't really raise after that.
And then the old lady appears again in the middle of a fight, one of these moments where everything stops in one frozen moment. It was funny, the editing of that scene. They show the remaining bad guys kind of like getting up and brushing themselves off and racing towards him, and then we stop for a conversation with her. They're still running, guys.
That didn't bother me because it was kind of...
It was like a magical aside.
Like it was in his head.
Yeah.
I did like that moment. She appears like, hey, now's your chance to get out if you want. And he's like, no, I must live. Like, and that's kind of a cool moment if that's right at the end of the movie, but there's another like hour after that. And that should be like the last moment before the victory.
And all this time where the worms have been more less effective, that's when he like wills his healing power to kick back in.
Yeah, exactly.
So he even has control over it somehow.
Which is cool if it was the end, but that wasn't the end.
Right. You have done a little bit of sword training yourself, yes? Can you tell us anything from your expertise with swords? How did they look in this movie?
Looked pretty good. All the actors seemed like they really knew what they were doing.
Yeah, the fighting was fairly intense.
Yeah,
it didn't look like they were pulling their punches.
Yeah, it wasn't terribly like super well shot and choreographed in a way that there's a shot that goes on for a while and a wide shot, and you see, wow, they're really...
There's nothing like the Old Boy sequence.
Yeah, or even like The Matrix or something like that.
It was shot like someone who's directed 100 films.
And just goes like, we got to get it. Let's just get it, guys.
Which is fine. Not every movie has to be like that, but that's what I kind of prefer.
It was like shaky cam sword fighting, but not even up to the level of Jason
Bourne. It was not Kill Bill.
In
terms of
wasn't that stylized?
Yeah. I'm no sword choreography expert by any means.
In this room, you are.
But that part was cool. The kills were sometimes inventive, sometimes not.
Right, yeah. There was just a lot of hacking and slashing. Yeah. It was going through cannon fodder for most of the movie. But when they would have like the one-on-one fights, then the bad guys had more creative fighting than our hero did.
Yeah. Man, I read something maybe like over a year ago now at this point. They were talking about anime, and I don't even remember why they brought up this point, but they said like so often at the end of anime movies and a lot of like Japanese cinema and stuff like that, the hero wins just by finding the strength at the end finally and takes over, compared to Western movies where the hero finds a clever way to win. And I thought back, I was like, oh wow, and I thought back to all the anime movies I've seen like that and all the Dragon Ball Z endings. I'm like, wow, that's right, that's kind of lame on their part.
Right. Well, in this movie, he's a blunt instrument. He just goes out and he hacks and he slashes. He doesn't really use his brain that much. There was one point where he uses a little dagger to cut a rope instead of attacking the bad guy.
Yeah, that was clever. I like that.
But that's like an old trope. You missed, did I? Yeah. There is a sort of running story theme. It's like they were trying to make even the bad guys have their own reasons for doing it. We get a flashback of the bad guy. His grandfather was kicked out of a school, even though he like deserved to be in it. Right. And that was supposed to be the same. That was supposed to make it okay that he killed a bunch of fucking people's parents and stuff.
It was supposed to make them seem like they have similar backgrounds, but one of them is...
Yeah, I disagree.
One of them's a rapist who kills people.
It's sort of like, aren't we the same, really? Well, no.
I got the sense they were trying to squeeze in a lot of characters from the manga in this.
It was very fan.
Yeah,
much to
I mean,
its,
I don't
fan-service-y.
remember too much, but I just remember that the graphic novels, like, they were very chapter based, and it was like one villain per chapter kind of thing, if I remember correctly.
Like a season of TV.
Yeah, I seem to remember one graphic novel being like an arc of one battle happening. But there was the overarching arc of like the main bad guy. They were kind of working their way towards.
Flash back and forth.
And it lasted like, I mean, I had up to like book 12, I think, and they were pretty thick books.
Mm-hmm.
So this was never an anime, just a manga.
As far as I know, yeah. I mean, there might have been way back in the day, but this seems to be the first time I can recall it being made into something.
Do you know what era it's from? Was it like new in the 90s?
Yeah, it was like maybe. I mean, it had to have been like 95, 96.
Was the comic gorier than the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
like
mean,
they
like
would
the
really
main
show
the main
blood
character
spurts and...
gets his head like sliced into 4 different pieces in one point, and like.
Jeez.
But like they have in this, like the guy who is also immortal, that you said was the only threat in the movie. He is, if I remember correctly, I don't remember him being immortal in the comic book. But he's all his limbs are cut off and he's pinned to a tree just like he is.
Just like that. So even if it's not the same character, they're trying to fit that moment in.
Right.
Yeah.
But there were moments, and I seem to remember her growing up and being a killer or something, or her even becoming immortal just like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if something
at some
was
point
going to happen. Something I realized almost right away that it's funny how something in animation can translate to an acting style. Like I feel like in anime, when characters are standing very still and talking without really moving or gesticulating,
But they animate only their mouth.
Yeah, like that's to save money on animation. That's not like it's not too much like a style choice, but that becomes the way that these movies are shot and acted. Just people standing very still and not moving.
Stand very
Well,
still.
I mean,
until they don't, and then they get very animated.
Emulate what you grew up on and what you learned from.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that live action is a secondary thing that the Japanese filmmakers have done, but I feel like growing up, I'm sure, especially if this is based on a manga, I'm sure the filmmakers at some point, read the manga.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot
watched countless hours of Rurouni Kenshin with 2 characters standing off, and like literally 3 episodes passed while the 2 characters just standing across from each other, like in a town. Like, we're gonna fight. Okay, 3 seasons later, they finally fight. Like, it's kind of, you're right. It's definitely there's a lot of that, just like frozen animation, mouth moving, and like the long shots in this are totally derivative of that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, would it not feel like a manga if they were moving around a lot and gestating and stuff like that? I don't know.
That person thinks so.
I want to go back and talk or ask you guys. You both learned a little Japanese. I presume you know more about Japanese culture than me. Why is it so important that people belong to a fighting school or fencing school? Why does it matter which one they're in? Or
that's almost more human nature to belong to a group.
Like, did you ever learn about Japanese history? Was it like a fucking gang where you had to be in something and it was like you better not get kicked out or else everyone will shun you? Like, it's such a big deal to this guy that his grandfather, 2 generations have passed, that he was kicked out of a school where it was like, you really should have been accepted. Now, it doesn't seem like that big a deal to me.
Right.
But that's very common in anime, that people belong to a certain school and they learn a certain style, and it's like, mine is better than yours, that sort of fucking thing.
I guess when you, as far as I know, like, Japan is, one religion based, or at least it used to be. Like, so you have to break that out into other clans that kind of fall apart. England, you had like Protestants and Catholics fighting against each other.
Like, as long as there's 2 people left on Earth, they'll be trying to kill each other. There's always going to be
opposing forces, like, and you tend to fall into a group. I mean,
I just wish
it's a little
I had
different than American culture.
I get the sense that everyone having to join a school and stuff is overemphasized in this. But yeah, I kind of agree with
it's the importance of it. I feel like I'm missing some context that would make it all click for me. Like, oh, he does have a good reason for acting like a dipshit the whole movie.
I just talked about the manga-ness.
Yeah. It seems pretty weak to me, but maybe somebody else knows that, no, that's a really big deal. I don't really...
I mean, status, I think, falls into...
But then his...
Japanese culture so much, like, just...
Is it sort of is he supposed to be a Tyler Durden character where society has rejected his family, so he's rejecting society, and he's going to wipe out all the schools, and he's going to make it not matter anymore. He's giving everybody a clean slate. Yeah. But then it's like he wants to be in charge of the school. He's not really trying to get rid of all the schools. He just wants to start a new one.
This kind of goes back to what I was saying before about Japanese movies kind of being about the old and the new. Like, this guy's just like, he feels shunned, and so it's like, well, fuck you guys, I'm gonna wipe you all out. Like, what was Mishima about? Did you ever see that? Mishima is like the famous author that he was as big as Stephen King is in America, but in Japan, and he was so well loved, and then one day he had his own like school basically, and he kind of taught. He had very devout like followers who kind of like just believed in his political process or whatever, and he was starting to consider running for office, I believe. And he eventually convinced these younger kids to basically stage a coup, and they one day they took over this school, and no one really believed him because they were like, oh, it's a famous, be like, so Stephen King took over his school and like demanded like you make him emperor or whatever.
Yeah, but he meant it.
Basically what he did. And he took over the whole damn place. I believe they took some hostages. I don't know if they killed anybody, but it became like a huge thing. And he was like, he wanted the old way installed again. Like, he thought that young kids were getting away with like murder, and like he just wanted to wipe out that concept and like really put the elders in charge again.
Some extreme measures, reset
extremism,
society.
and he took it all the way to the point that he had proper seppuku committed. Like, he had his, he just cut his belly out and had his
somebody was there to chop his head off.
Yeah, but they had never done it before, and
oh god,
it took like 3 or 4 times.
Oh god, what do you do with like a knife from the school cafeteria to commit seppuku in?
I mean, yeah, the kids were like, this was like in the 70s or 80s. There's a whole movie executive produced by George Lucas, and it's like a 4-hour fucking movie.
The movie is called Star Wars.
Yeah, it's called Mishima: A Story in 4 Parts, or A Life in 4 Parts.
I have heard of that.
It's got a Criterion release and everything. It's a crazy movie.
Wow.
Well, never in a million years would I have thought that this movie, Blade of the Immortal, had so much in common with our last episode. Batteries not included. You got the machines that fix everything, and everything's brought back to normal the way it was, and the bloodworms in this one fixing
Wow. So you're
Manji
saying it's a sequel?
I mean, I wonder if they are going to get sued because of the similarities.
Well, then there's,
they're so similar.
And then there's the themes of the old versus the new.
Yeah.
Right.
And in that one too. Who would have thought?
Did you plan this? I mean, yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's
I guess if you're a big fan of the manga, it might be fun to see your favorite characters brought to life.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I didn't.
I think
hate
if
it
I
either.
was not as sleepy,
right,
maybe I would have
enjoyed it
a little more.
But yeah, I think we could leave it at that. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to run out and see it, but
I wonder what we'll do next. I got to think of something that has themes of old versus new, something about like automatic repair.
Yeah.
Christine.
Ooh.
The car fixes itself. That's perfect. Oh God, we're doing Christine next week, guys. Woo!
Oh my God.
There it is.
All right, we better end this soon.
Thanks again for having me, you guys.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Did we even
A
introduce
pleasure.
you on this episode?
No,
No,
you were
no.
just here.
Hi.
Hey, everybody, it's
Wait,
Matt
who the-
Hingstman with
Who
us
the fuck
today.
are you? Oh shit! Oh shit!
Anytime you want to do it.
Thank you.
It's Dragon Wagon.
Gamebox Monthly sends a new awesome indie tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize them to fit your style. Also, you're guaranteed to never get a title you already have, letting you focus on what matters most, having a great time with great people.
So visit GameboxMonthly.com and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for the hell with this listeners.
Once again, that's GameboxMonthly.com.
Rediscover social.